Friends, I want you to listen closely, because what I'm about to say is the very heartbeat of hope, the flaming declaration that will stir your soul to rise and never be the same again. Right now, in this very moment, God is on the move. If you feel stuck, if you feel beat down by the storms of life, if your heart is laden with worries and your mind trapped in doubt, hear me clearly. God is about to shift everything in your favor. This is not wishful thinking or empty comfort. This is the profound truth that shakes the heavens and makes the earth bow in awe. God's hand is not shortened that it cannot save you. His power is not diminished that he cannot deliver you from every chain, from every valley that threatens to swallow your spirit. This is the divine promise, urgent and alive, roaring through the depths of eternity straight into your life. There is coming a shift, a turning, a supernatural reversal that will break all barriers standing between you and the victory God has ordained for you. Do you have every stronghold of fear and frustration? You have endured long enough. You have prayed fervently, cried silently, even wondered if God heard your desperate cries. But believe this tonight, God has not forgotten you. Your story is not finished. Your breakthrough is not postponed. God's timing is perfect, and his plan surpasses the understanding of every human heart. The moment you have been waiting for is on the horizon, drawing near as the night yields to the dawn. This shift is not accidental. It is intentional, sovereign, and filled with divine purpose. Consider how relentless storms sometimes seem to rage against us, how dark the nights feel when the shadows deepen. Yet God's light never fails. Though the clouds cover the sun still shines behind them, ready to burst forth and illuminate the entire sky. So too, your trials are but temporary veils that God will lift with his mighty hand. He is the God of shifting circumstances, of turning what looks impossible into unmistakable victory. When you look back one day and see the valley you walked through, you will understand in a way that only faith can reveal. The valley was the path for God's greater glory to move in your life. I want you to rise up with your eyes wide open, with a heart fully expectant, because God is not just rearranging things here and there. He is orchestrating a divine shift that will open doors no man can shut and close doors that must never be entered. This is the shift of divine favor, the floodgate of blessings, the miracle that defies logic and reason, because it is God himself who moves on your behalf. You are not alone. In fact, God's eyes are running to and fro across the earth, searching for those whose hearts are fully committed, those who have not given up, those who are ready to receive his mighty deliverance. If that is you, then listen carefully. This moment demands faith. It requires that you stand firm on the promises of God, that you believe with more conviction than ever before, because what you believe will begin to form reality. You may have been betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood, and left in despair, but God's love does not fail. His love does not delay. God's love is the unshakable foundation upon which everything good is built. And when he decides to shift things in your favor, you will know it by the peace that surpasses all understanding, by the strength that rises within you that no enemy can overpower. You will see doors opening where walls stood, hear chains falling where bondage once ruled, and experience joy bubbling forth where there was once only sorrow. This is the power of God's favor. It changes destinies. It rewrites history. It ushers in a new season of hope. Remember, God's shift is often quiet before it becomes loud. It is tender before it becomes triumphant. Like the breaking of dawn that starts as a whisper of light before it bursts into brilliant day, God's work in your life begins in ways unseen but unmistakable to those who watch by faith. The waiting season is not wasted. It is the preparation ground for greatness. Every delay, every setback, every challenge is being used by God to perfect you, to refine your character, and to heighten your dependence on his unchanging power. Now listen carefully as I say, this no power in heaven or earth can stop the shift God is bringing. He is the Almighty One, the Eternal, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No circumstance, no opposition, no past failure can stand before his majesty. If you have trusted in him, then you can boldly declare, God has turned my mourning into dancing. He will put off my sackcloth and clothe me with joy. This is not mere poetry. It is the living reality for those who embrace the shift God is carrying out. So what must you do? Stand firm, lift up your eyes, and fix them on God who does the impossible. Strengthen your heart with faith, not fear. Declare with confidence, that you will see the goodness of God in the land of the living. God is aligning circumstances, raising up helpers, pouring out wisdom and resources, all for your good. He has prepared victory in the heavens and tiptoes around the corner of your life, ready to unveil it. The shift you are praying for is also a shift within you. God will move in the depths of your soul, stirring courage where there was timidity, igniting passion where there was coldness, and rekindling hope where despair tried to set up camp. This inner transformation is the foundation for the outer blessing. You cannot receive the fullness of God's shift unless your heart is ready, unless you strip away bitterness, unforgiveness, and doubt. Choose today to embrace God's grace, to walk in obedience, to wait with patience and expectancy. When God shifts everything in your favor, it is not just fleeting luck or temporary success. You will carry the mark of divine empowerment for a lifetime. Gates that once led to dead ends will open wide toward your destiny. Your testimony will shine brilliantly to encourage others who are in the waiting room of life. You will understand that God's timing is perfect and that His love is relentless. Now hear me again, this coming shift is not just about your circumstances, it is about God revealing His unmatched glory through your life. When God moves, He moves with a purpose far beyond our understanding. He is the master weaver, threading your trials and triumphs into an intricate tapestry of divine beauty. This is the moment where despair will bow before hope, where limitation will be swallowed by boundless possibility, because God's power makes the weak strong, the small great, and the broken whole. Do you realize that no night is so dark that God cannot create day from it? No prison is so secure that God cannot break every chain and open every door. We often carry the weight of past failures and the sting of rejection, but God is about to change that narrative. He is the God who resurrects dry bones, who causes barren places to bloom, who breathes life where there was once only death. If your heart is weary, if your spirit feels crushed, know this: the God who created the stars and placed them in their courses is the very same God working on your behalf. He is a God of miracles and movement, not stagnation. When He decides to favor you, the heavens themselves will shift in alignment with His will for your life. Your breakthrough will be so profound, so undeniable, that even the forces opposing you will have to acknowledge the hand of God at work. You must be ready to receive this shift with an open and willing heart. It is not enough to hope quietly or to pray half-heartedly. God's favor demands that you rise up with boldness and courage. The scripture declares in no uncertain terms that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary, and they shall walk and not faint. This promise is not meant for the passive. It is for those who are purposeful, those who refuse to sink under the weight of discouragement. So prepare yourself, dear soul, to rise like an eagle, for God's favor is lifting you higher than you have ever dared to imagine. There's another dimension to this shift. God is not only realigning the external, but also transforming the internal. Your heart will be purified like gold refined by fire. Doubts that once clouded your vision will be swept away by the fierce clarity of faith. God's shift will awaken within you a hunger for righteousness, a passion for truth, and a commitment to integrity that will shine as brightly as the sun. The world around you will recognize that this change is not merely luck or coincidence, but the undeniable work of the Almighty. Your character will be a testament to His faithfulness. I urge you to cling to this truth with unwavering determination. Your past does not define your future. Your limitations do not dictate your destiny, and the failures that once haunted you will become the stepping stones to your greatest victories. God is not a God of yesterday's regrets, but of tomorrow's glory. He is already on the move to lift you above the noise, above the confusion, into a realm of divine favor and peace. He shifts not only the mountains in front of you, but also the landscape within you, bringing forth hope where there was despair, joy where there was mourning, and power where there was weakness. Listen well, for this is the day to reject the voice of doubt and to embrace the voice of divine assurance. God's timing is perfect, and His plans for you are plans of prosperity, not of harm, to give you a future and a hope. This is the time to declare a holy war against the spirit of fear that attacks your mind and tries to paralyze your faith. Stand firm on the rock of God's promises. Speak boldly that the shift is here, that it is unstoppable, irreversible, and unmatched. Your testimony will someday inspire multitudes because you dared to believe when everything around you screamed impossible. Do not underestimate the power of persistent faith. Even when the evidence seems thin, God's favor is real and active. The sun rises every morning without fail, and so does God's mercy toward you. It is new every day. With each step you take in faith, the shift grows stronger, the tides turn higher, and the impossible edges closer to your grasp. Your prayer life becomes a powerful lightning rod, attracting heaven's favor. Your acts of kindness and righteousness position you as a vessel ready to receive divine blessings. God's shift honors those who honor Him with their hearts and their lives. And remember, this divine shift is not confined by human boundaries or logic. God's hand stretches from eternity to eternity. His wisdom is beyond measure. What men declare impossible, God calls close at hand. What human hearts despair over, God declares ripe for harvest. Expect the unexpected, for God delights in confounding the proud and uplifting the humble. This is your invitation to step into the miraculous, to watch the heavens literally open on your behalf, and to witness signs and wonders as God Himself declares, "This one I favor, and I am shifting their circumstances." So rise, take courage, and fix your eyes on the author of your destiny. You are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, you are not failing. God's mighty hand is reaching down to lift you. God's voice is calling you to rise, and God's eternal power is ready to renew your strength. When you face the storm, declare that God's favor is the shield around you. When you walk into the unknown, proclaim that God's light guides your steps. You are standing on the threshold of something great, something divine, something eternal. The shift in your favor will flood your life with blessings that cannot be measured, joy that cannot be contained, and peace that surpasses all human understanding. Hold fast to this promise. It is anchored in the unchanging nature of God, the one who holds the whole universe in His hands, the one who numbers every hair on your head and marks every tear you have shed. He is about to show forth His glory through you, and the world will see that there is a God who reigns, who moves mightily, and who always causes all things to work together for the good of those who love Him. Let every part of your being awaken to this truth. When God moves to shift your life, He does so with unparalleled authority and wisdom. The winds of change that God brings are never random, never out of control. They are sovereign currents of purpose sent to carry you far beyond what you ever dared imagine. God in infinite compassion sees not only your needs, but the hidden cries of your soul, the dreams yet spoken, the prayers yet uttered. God knows the depths of your longing more deeply than you do. In every season of waiting, every unanswered question, it is God who is preparing you for more than a mere answer. He is preparing you for transformation. The story is far bigger than a change in fortunite. It is about the transformation of your soul, the unearthing of gifts God has buried within you for such a time as this. Listen, the shift God brings into your life is not dependent on the approval of others or the logic of circumstance. God breaks the pattern, disrupts the cycle, and sets a new course where there was none. When the world says the door is shut, God says, "I am making a way even through the wilderness." His promises are not empty gestures. They are contracts sealed by His eternal word. When you choose to trust in God's shift, you step out of the shadows of fear and into the radiant field of faith, a place where the impossible bends its knee and the ordinary becomes extraordinary under God's touch. You must understand that God's favor is not earned by perfection, but received by surrender. When you lay down your fears, your pride, and your disappointments before God, you make room for miracles. Every act of humility, every quiet moment of trust is a seed that God waters and multiplies into a harvest of blessings. As you journey forward, let your prayers be bolder, your worship be deeper, your hope be brighter, for God honors those who dare to believe beyond the present reality. Even if you cannot see the full extent of God's plan, you can trust the heart that holds your future. In times of uncertainty, when you're tempted to waver, remember, God is not limited by what limits you. What seems like an ending is often the beginning of God's greatest work in your story. Stand firm in the silence, for God is always speaking, always working, always designing beauty from ashes. Learn to recognize the subtle rhythms of God's guidance. See a gentle prompt, a sudden surge of peace, a closed door that was never meant for you. These are the ways God orchestrates the shift, leading you away from what would have hindered you and toward what will fulfill you. There is a sacredness to struggle, a holiness in your longing, For it is in those places that God forges character and prepares you for greater things. Do not despise your challenges. See them as divine invitations. With every burden you release to God, you become lighter for the journey ahead. When difficulties seem unending, remind yourself it is the refiner's fire that brings forth the purest gold. God does not waste your tears. He stores them as testimony to the faith that rises in you. The shift on the horizon is birthed through these very moments of perseverance. Let each setback remind you that what lies behind pales in comparison to what God is guiding you toward. Your worth is not measured by your scars or your accolades, but by the unwavering love God lavishes upon you. When you fall short, God's mercy is greater. When you grow weary, God's strength becomes your own. When you face opposition, know that God's shield is impenetrable, guarding you through every storm. Rest in this confidence. God's shift is not just about your victory, but about His glory revealed in you. Do not let the opinions of others or past disappointments be the ceiling of your faith. God alone has the final word over your destiny. Where others see limitations, God sees opportunity. Where they see a valley, God sees the mountain rising in the distance. Stay anchored to the hope that God's hand is moving even when you cannot track it. Keep your spirit open, your mind expectant, and your heart receptive. For God delivers in seasons that often seem the least likely. If you find yourself in the valley, do not be ashamed or discourage. Valleys are corridors to new heights with God. In the quiet, in the pressing, in the waiting, God is shaping in you a resilience that cannot be shaken. The comfort He brings you now is the very fuel that will propel you into the places you are destined to reach. Allow your faith to expand, to stretch, to become as daring as the God you worship, refusing to settle, refusing to accept anything less than God's best. Let your life be the living proof that God's power is never diminished by silence or darkness or delay. Your testimony will shine not in spite of your struggle, but because of it. The world will witness the shift and know it is God who has done it, who uplifted, who restored, who multiplied hope where hope was gone. All things, the seen and the unseen, bow to God's command. Trust boldly and walk freely. For when God shifts everything in your favor, you are both changed and empowered to become a beacon to all who still wait for their own day of deliverance. Let your soul be alert to this. There is a sacred urgency pulsing through your life. When God stands ready to shift the very ground beneath your feet, when God determines a turning point, nothing on earth or in the unseen realm can halt it. He orchestrates events with such wisdom that even delays become bridges. Setbacks morph into setups, and silence churns with the promise of coming thunder. God's favor does not arrive quietly. It moves with a majesty that leaves you and all who witness it awestruck. The burdens that felt immovable begin to lose their grip, and new possibilities break in like a tide that cannot be turned back. There is a profound humility in recognizing that every breath, every opportunity, and every day you wake to see the light is a gift lovingly extended by God. Let your gratitude become a wellspring, a river that flows through doubt, discontent, and disappointment. Nothing in your story is wasted. God uses every thread, every trial, every joy, and every tear to weave outcomes that far surpass human understanding. Rise in the confidence that even when the world discards or overlooks you, God's vision is vivid, God's plans precise, and His timing exact. Each moment is a note in a symphony that only God could compose for your ultimate good. Allow yourself to be transformed by the patience God instills within you. It is in the waiting when answers seem distant and prayers return in echoes that your character grows and your faith gains muscle. God, who set the stars in their courses and commands the rain to fall in its season, teaches that trust endures not by sight but by surrender. When shadows lengthen and hope feels faint, recall that God brings forth light out of darkness and harvest out of barrenness. His promises are as sure as the dawn. His word, unbreakable as the mountains that stand through the ages. Let your mind be renewed by the certainty that God's will is never at the mercy of circumstance. He acts with intention, pressing within you the conviction that your present is not your prison, and your future is uncontainable under His guidance. God refines you so you may reflect the brilliance of His wisdom, so your influence sparkles not only in moments of triumph, but also through seasons of testing. The confidence to press onward, even when the way is unclear, is the finest evidence of God's hand anchoring your spirit. If you sense obstacles mounting or adversaries gathering, remember that God's protection is impenetrable. He encircles those who trust Him with a favor that repels adversity and draws in opportunity. Do not be disheartened when doors close or people withdraw, for sometimes separation is God's preparation sifting your surroundings, so only what serves your purpose remains. What He brings to you, no force can take away. And what He moves out, trust that your path is being cleared for greater things. Lift your aspirations. Pray not only for relief from hardship, but for wisdom to discern God's purpose in every circumstantial twist. Let your faith be proactive, setting sail before the winds of blessing are visible, knowing that God upholds what is committed faithfully into His keeping. Stand ready to serve, to extend kindness, to sow encouragement, for God rewards those who bless others, even in their own season of waiting. Keep your heart attuned to the quiet movements of God encounters, moments and insights that seem small but are seeds of momentous change. A simple act can trigger a wave of blessing. A whispered prayer can move mountains when uttered in unwavering faith. Invite God to saturate every corner of your life so nothing is walled off from His transforming touch. Remember, God's presence is the fountain that never runs dry. When friends fail, when strength withers, when resources dwindle, God remains abundantly, inexhaustibly present. You do not walk alone. You are carried by a love that is measureless and guided by a wisdom unfathomable. As you await the turning, as you sense the stirring, as you grasp for new beginnings, let hope anchor your heart and let every step resound with the assurance: God is about to shift everything in your favor, and with Him, all things become possible. Let your spirit awaken afresh to the astonishing truth that in every season of your life, God's wisdom is at work, orchestrating details you could never foresee. Trust that even in the quiet stretches where answers seem concealed and blessings distant, God is cultivating the soil of your heart for an abundant harvest. This is the hour when God calls you to dare greatly, to rise above complacency, and to open your arms wide for the unforeseen goodness coming your way. Cast away the notion that you must find your own way through the maze. God is the waymaker, the pathfinder, the one who draws straight lines through life's crooked places. There comes a point where you must choose: will you settle for what you understand, or will you surrender to the magnitude of what God can do? The greatest shift begins not with the changing of your conditions, but with the expansion of your vision. God invites you to look past your limitations, past voices that sow doubt, past the wounds that tried to convince you to withdraw. Raise your expectations. The one who shaped the valleys and flung the stars has not overlooked the details of your struggle. Every trial you endure, every challenge you overcome, becomes a testimony stamped with God's faithfulness, sending a ripple of hope to everyone who sees your breakthrough. Consider this: God's shift is both invitation and promise. It urges you to break free from patterns of fear and cycles of defeat. Where the world draws borders around what is possible, God redraws them, brushing the limits aside with a single act of grace. He pours new vision into weary hearts, fresh courage into trembling hands, and dignity into lives battered by disappointment. You are not defined by your past, nor are you limited by present obstacles. God's favor has a history of transforming the least likely moments into the most fruitful season. Allow the knowledge of God's constancy to become your lifeline. When turbulence comes, anchor yourself in prayer or conversation with God that moves mountains unseen. In moments of uncertainty, remember that God is not silent. He is inviting you deeper, calling you to hear guidance that the noise of life often drowns out. Refuse to interpret the temporary silence as absence. Understand it as the holy pause before a powerful move. God's timing is meticulous. It is always purposeful, never random. As you release anxiety and grasp the unyielding promise of God's presence, peace begins to replace pressure and gratitude overtakes fear. There is strength in humble reliance. Let your greatness be found not in how high you climb, but in how deeply you depend on God's sustaining presence. Yield to the wisdom that says God's plans may baffle your senses, but they will never betray your trust. When storms rage and chaos shakes your surroundings, secure your mind with the truth that God is uncontested in sovereignty and unmatched in compassion. His hand steers the currents of your life toward shorelines you would never have chosen, but that proved to be exactly what your soul needed. As you walk through doors only God could open, let your first offering be thanks. Give praise for the battles you never noticed, for the dangers diverted, for the countless no's that spared you from a lesser destiny. Let gratitude not become contingent upon visible blessings, but rooted in the unwavering confidence that God's love is intentional and His shift is always for your highest good. The more you thank God, even for what you do not yet understand, the better you position yourself to receive the next wave of favor. Stand tall, not in self-assurance, but in the certainty that God's word will never fail. Let each sunrise be a summons to hope. Let the rhythm of your every heartbeat echo the anthem of reliance. That God is for you, that God is with you, and that God is already making all things new. Speak life into dead places, declare hope where discouragement once held sway. For just as the barren earth blooms in its appointed season, so too will your life blossom as you yield everything to God's masterful touch. This sacred shift is not a fleeting moment, but a lasting transformation. You are being prepared, not just for relief, but for purpose. What God initiates, no hand can thwart. What God promises, no force can break. No valley is too deep and no summit too high for God's reach. As you press forward, carry this unwavering truth in your soul. God is never late, never outmatched, never lacking. The pages of your story are still being written by the author who delights in redeeming every chapter. Let this conviction saturate your days. God's favor is not a rumor, not a distant hope, but a present active force surrounding you right now. Open your eyes to the subtle signs and to witness what God can do when faith outlasts fear. Seek not just personal advancement, but that your favor would spill over, quenching the thirst of those lost in their own deserts of doubt. In every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, let it be known that you serve a God whose abundance never narrows to self-interest but overflows in rivers of compassion. As new opportunities emerge, resist the pull of worry. What is ordained for you cannot be snatched away. Ignore the murmur of voices that belittle your hope, for they do not know the intimacy of your journey with God. Let your confidence be founded on substance far deeper than shifting opinion or temporary applause. It is rooted in the unchanging character of God, who alone holds your destiny secure. The shift you sense is not a gentle nudge, but a divine surge, realigning circumstances, relationships, and even desires, so that what blesses you will also honor the one who brings every good gift to fruition. As courage rises within, as certainty displaces doubt, remember that your gratitude and obedience are the greatest offerings you bring to God. Respond generously to His generosity. Be faithful with small things, for God delights in trusting you with more. Persevere through delay, armed with the knowledge that God has not forgotten. He is refining, not denying. Stir your heart to gratitude before the answer comes, giving thanks for the outcome you cannot yet see but surely will. Use every waking hour as testimony to hope that stands tall against despair. Surround yourself with reminders of every victory, every moment when God's help arrived in the midnight hour, renewing your resolve and breathing new power into tired bones. Every morning, invite God's wisdom to go before you. Walk with quiet expectation. Speak words that encourage, and choose actions that reflect the conviction that your life is being carefully shifted by God toward a purpose greater than your imagination can hold. Live as one who trusts, not just with words, but with the radiant peace that marks those who know God's favor is both present and advancing. Peace so vibrant that it becomes a beacon through the storms of life to all who stand in the shadows, waiting for dawn. Let the depths of your heart awaken to this. When God declares a new season, every limitation that once defined you must bow before His power. The dawn of transformation does not arrive with thunderous noise, but comes dressed in quiet conviction, whispering to your soul that there is more hope, more purpose, more grace than you have ever fathomed. God's presence is as close as the very breath in your lungs, never distant, never indifferent. He is attentive to every silent cry, every wordless longing, every hope deferred. Trust that God's attention to the smallest details of your life means nothing is random and nothing unnoticed. With the care of a master builder, God positions every stone, and crafts every chapter, designing outcomes that astound even those most familiar with struggle. Do not let the storms intimidate you, for even furious winds must answer to God's command. Just as the mightiest mountains rise at His word, so will obstacles dissolve when their purpose is fulfilled. The comfort you seek is not escape from challenge, but the unshakable assurance that God walks with you through every fire. Release the demand for clarity and embrace the invitation to walk by faith, where vision surrenders to trust, and trust grows stronger than understanding. God's wisdom is not bound by your urgency. His timing flows from a higher vantage, seeing the end from the beginning and weaving your deliverance before you are aware you need it. Lift your prayers higher, and let your questions become altars, places where uncertainty is exchanged for holy expectancy. Be bold in your requests, not shrinking from the magnitude of what God is capable of doing in your life. As you yield your plans, watch God's greater design unfold beyond the limits of your past experience. The shift you await does not always announce itself with spectacle. Sometimes it blooms quietly within, as newfound patience, peace, and wisdom, the fruits that prove the season has truly changed. When disappointment tries to settle in your soul, remind it that God's record is flawless. Every promise made is a promise kept, though fulfillment may take a different path than you envision. The moments that feel like detours are sometimes the direct routes to deeper strength and unimagined blessings. Invite God to teach you the value of persistence, the beauty of hope, and the discipline of gratitude. Let these virtues become anchors that hold you steady until the full tide of God's favor washes over your life. Allow your spirit to celebrate not only the victories, but also the lessons learned in waiting. Know that every door closed by God is an act of mercy, every pause a provision, every delay a measure of protection. Look for the surprising ways God provides. Show comfort arrives through a timely word. How direction emerges in quiet reflection. How strength multiplies as you lean, not on your own understanding, but on God's infinite wisdom. There is a nobility in leaning on God, acknowledging that your strength was never meant to suffice and your knowledge never meant to supersede divine guidance. With each surrender, you step further from striving and closer to the assurance that God's goodness is your lifelong inheritance. Encourage yourself with memories of past deliverances and the quiet confidence that the same God who sustained you until now will be faithful to the end. Invite God to enlarge your vision, not for your own acclaim, but so the testimony of your life becomes a light on a hill, a message of hope for those watching your journey. Live generously, knowing that favor from God is not a possession to hoard, but a blessing to be shared. Be quick to forgive, slow to judge, eager to encourage, and steady in unwavering trust. These are the marks of those who have encountered the full power of God's ship. Let humility be your companion and gratitude your anthem as the story unfolds. Each morning, remind yourself that today you stand on the verge of renewal. Each trial faced, each joy embraced becomes another page in the narrative God is authoring for eternity. Walk in the confidence that your steps are ordered, your needs known, and your destiny secure in God's hand. The shift is ongoing, the transformation real, and the favor undeniable for those whose hope is placed in the one who never fails. Let your heart stand in awe before this timeless truth. God's purposes stretch beyond the horizon of your imagination, and His generosity exceeds every hopeful longing. If doubt has lingered or fear whispered that you're forgotten, let assurance rise in your spirit. God never abandons those who wait in expectant faith. As the Creator breathes new life into tired dreams, receive this moment as an invitation to participate in the unfolding of a purpose much grander than you could devise. The shift you are sensing is not mere coincidence, it is the choreography of the divine, guiding your steps to places of peace and flourishing. Do not shrink from uncertainty, for every uncertain path is an opportunity for discovery, a canvas on which God leaves unmistakable marks of kindness and wisdom. Instead of striving for answers, abide in the shelter of trust. Watch how God turns scarcity into abundance, not just in material matters, but in wisdom, peace, and relationships that anchor your soul. He is the restorer of what was lost, and the multiplier of every seed sown in hardship. The valley